Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today for WordStream's webinar, PPC Health Check, Knowing and Showing Your Account Vital Signs. My name's Chris, and I'll be your moderator for today's presentation. So for today's agenda, we're going to cover what PPC metrics actually matter. We're going to walk you through an AdWords clinic on live. We're going to do a live account audits, and we're going to introduce you to the 20-minute PPC work week and our brand new reporting tool. If you'd like to take part in live blogging today on Twitter, Google+, or any other social networks, you can include the hashtag #WordStream in your Google+ statuses, updates, Twitter tweets, etc. Now to introduce your speaker for today's presentation, we have on the webinar Larry Kim. Larry Kim is the founder and CTO of WordStream. He's been doing PPC and SEO for 10+ years. And 6 years ago, he started WordStream. And today, WordStream is the provider of the AdWords Performance Grader and the 20-minute PPC work week.
Thanks, Chris.
So with that, let me hand things over to Larry, and we're going to walk through a couple poll questions.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. It's Larry here. Before jumping into our presentation today, I thought I had a couple questions for you today. The first question has to do with, what do you view your most important PPC metric to be? So of the following AdWords metrics, what would you say is the most important for managing your own Google AdWords search campaign? And I've kind of bunched them together here. Clicks, cost per click, quality score, click-through rate, conversions, cost per conversion, conversion rates. D is like the search query report, and E is the impression share report. How are we doing for the respondents, Chris?
So it looks, sorry, Larry, it looks like about 40% of people voted so far.
All right, guys, so just to vote, you just there should be like a thing on your right-hand screen where you can just lock in your vote there. That way we can all participate.
All right, Larry, I'm going to launch the results. It looks like we got about 70% voted, so let's
Awesome.
see. Let's see what we have here. There you go.
So it looks like a clear winner: conversions, cost per conversion, conversion rate, and I agree. I think that is definitely a very important metric. And so I just have one other poll question for you today, because a lot of what we're going to be talking about has to do with not only what metrics matter, but also how to best manage your time and your PPC workflow in terms of tasks. My second question has to do with what's the biggest time sink in your PPC management work? Is it the bid management of your keywords? Is it kind of the reporting analysis, which we'll be talking a lot about today? Is it the ad text authoring? Always hard to come up with those clever, relevant ads. Keyword research, like picking relevant keywords, negative keywords to include or exclude from your account, or is it the landing pages? Those are quite challenging as well. So yeah, just lock in your votes. I'd love to hear kind of what you're thinking here in terms of what's the biggest time sink in PPC management that you're currently struggling with. How are we doing, Chris?
It looks like about 60% of people voted so far.
Cool.
So just give it one more second, and I'll launch the results here.
Well, it looks like the winner is reporting and analysis, although perhaps the topic of this webinar might have lured in certain people who might be wanting to know more about reporting analysis, and so I'm not surprised to see PPC reporting analysis at 39%. This is not, of course, a scientific poll. It's just more to just get to see, what people think out there. Awesome. So, okay. Well, look, anyone who's ever managed a AdWords account knows that there's like dozens and hundreds of metrics and numbers to track when analyzing your search marketing performance, and it's awesome to have lots of information, but often information overload can be paralyzing. And so I think it's like super important to be able to hone in on the metrics that provide the most valuable insight into your performance and your health of your account. And so that's kind of the topic of our webinar today, PPC Health Check, knowing and showing your account vital signs. And so in my presentation today, I'm just going to start out here by sharing with you what I believe to be, some of the most important PPC metrics, and to, rather than just taking my word for it, I thought the best way to kind of prove my point here would be to just spend some time looking at different AdWords accounts with you in kind of like a live AdWords clinic. We'll actually go through a couple live AdWords accounts and kind of look at how the different metrics kind of give us a really good indication of success or failure in terms of what's happening in those accounts. And of course, why don't we jump right in here? And so basically, in order to do this AdWords clinic, I'm going to be using something called the WordStream AdWords Performance Grader, and that's a free tool that you can use on your own. It's just got an audit tool that will kind of compare your PPC account performance against other companies that are in your industry and that are of similar size to you. And the reason why I'm going to be using these reports just to review some accounts is this way we can look at some nice visual reports rather than plowing through Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that. And as I was saying earlier, let's just dive right in, look at 2 real AdWords accounts, and review kind of the state of their accounts in terms of these different metrics, and try to get an understanding of how the different metrics kind of govern the success or failure in the account, and also how they kind of give you a really good actionable insights into what to be improving. So why don't we just jump right in and get to work here. So I have 2 of them. This is the great account, all right? Or no, let's start with the terrible account. Here it is. Okay. Yes. So here's what our AdWords Grader sample report card looks like. I've kind of blurred out the name of this advertiser because I wanted to keep this anonymous. But basically, how this works is we're just grading your account, and it's very typical. Like, we'll give you a percentile score. So this is kind of like your SAT. 4% means out of 100 people, this AdWords accounts would be considered kind of in the bottom 4 out of 100. And we grade them on a bunch of different metrics here. Wasted spend is actually a very crucial metric because it has a really big impact on your overall return on investment. You can't expect high profits from PPC if you're not keeping the costs down, and so by watching out for wasted budget, you can make sure that your advertising dollars are being well spent. And so the best way to reduce wasted spend in PPC is to use negative keywords. And so in this report, what I'm doing here is I'm kind of calculating and tracking the number of negative keywords you're using in your account in the last 90 days, and then kind of projecting it to like how much money that you could have been saving, based on analysis of kind of wasteful spend. I also kind of compare how active you are at finding negative keywords in your account relative to other competitors that are similar to you. And basically, it's hard to see here, but this guy has added actually nothing, in like no negative keywords in the last quarter, in the last month, whereas the competitors are doing much more. So this guy's spending about $7,000 a month. He hasn't found any new negative keywords in the last month or quarter, and so that's why he is doing very badly there. And of course, using these negative keywords could allow you to filter out and exclude traffic that would be irrelevant to your business, and preventing your ads from showing up on search queries that aren't relevant to your business. And I think that this is kind of an ongoing thing. It's not possible to find all the junk in your account on the first day, and so that's why it's important to just kind of keep it up as a weekly workflow. One of the second metrics here has to do with quality score. So quality score has to do with Google's measure of the relevance of your keywords, and it's used to ensure that searchers see the relative ads and have a positive experience, of course. And generally, the most important factor for quality score has to do with your click-through rate. And as well as some other factors. But it's also really important to maintain the good quality scores because your ad rankings are, as well as how much you pay per click is determined by your quality score in part. And so in this section of the report, what we're showing, what we're reporting on has to do with the distribution of keywords and their respective quality scores. So for example, you can see most of the keywords in this accounts are being impressed to keywords in the 3 and 4 range, which is pretty bad. The average quality score here for this account is 3.8, and we're saying that you should target, ideally a 7, or other kind of accounts like that are in the same industry as this company that are similar size seem to be having an average of 5.6. So this yellow curve here kind of shows the recommended distribution. The green bars show the advertiser's distribution. And you can see how this is kind of not doing too well. It's like in the 15th percentile out of 100 people. And if you could work on this, you'd either save money or get more clicks, either in terms of more exposure or cost per click savings. All right, so our next measure, our next metric here has to do with impression share, and that's a measure of how often your ads are appearing for the searches that are relevant to your ads. In other words, it's a ratio of your ad impressions to the total number of searches for which your ad was eligible to appear. If your ads are, being displayed for half of the time that people search on what you're on the keywords that you're bidding on, then you would have an impression share of 50%. And basically, a low impression share means that something's not going right in your campaign. Maybe that the budget might be too low and you're running out of budget, or perhaps that the low relevancy or low quality scores is just meaning that Google doesn't even want to show your ads. Like Google doesn't think it's like worth showing those ads because maybe they're not good enough quality. And so the challenge here is that a low impression share means that you're basically losing out on potential opportunities to appear to qualified searchers. And so in this report, I'm just showing you kind of on a budget-weighted basis what's your impression share. And so this particular advertiser is acquiring only 29% of the eligible impressions. He's losing 68% of them due to either relevancy or budget. And so that is definitely a problem because it just means like they're only capturing 1 out of 3. And I think that has to do with the problem that we just noticed earlier, which was a low quality score of just 3.8 out of 10. So you can see how these metrics are not only important by themselves, but they can start to paint a picture in terms of like what's going wrong in the account. So why is the impression share and quality score so low? Well, it has to do with the click-through rates. And of course, click-through rate is just the ratio of how often your ads are clicked on versus how often your ads are shown. And of course, you would expect to get more clicks in the top position than in the second or third or fourth or fifth position, or even at the bottom of the page. And so what we're doing here is we're taking your top 200 keywords and graphing them for you on a chart here that shows click-through rate on the y-axis and average position on the x-axis. And basically, each one of these green dots is one of your top 200 keywords, and you want to make it so that your keywords are above the typical expected click-through rate for a particular ad position. So if you're in the second ad spot, it looks like the typical click-through rate is like 4% or something like that. And a lot of these keywords, as you can see, are below the yellow typical curve line. And so, in fact, this particular advertiser has a click-through rate of just 1.31% in an average position of 4. And so I think that's pretty low, just 1% click-through rate, being in such a prominent position, number 4. And so out of 100 people that we see, this guy has the kind of lowest 9 percentile click-through rate out of 100. And so now we can start to see, it's this low click-through rate of 1% that seems to be causing the quality scores to tank, which is causing the impression shares to drop to just a third or 29% of the available impressions. You can sort of connect the dots here. So why is the click-through rate so low? Let's find out here. One of the things that we look at in our report has to do with grading the account activity in your account. So meaning like, what's going on in terms of the different optimizations that are happening in this particular account. Like anything else in life, you get out of AdWords kind of what you put into it. And so I'm looking at your activity level, meaning the number of logins, the number of new and deleted ad groups, the number of new and deleted text ads and keywords and bid changes. I basically found earlier that there was a big correlation between sort of activity and success, meaning advertisers who are more actively managing their accounts are doing much better on average than those who are just neglecting their accounts and kind of putting them on autopilot. And so it's critical that you maintain some time working in your AdWords account on a regular basis to sort of maintain the gains that you've made in the past and also look for new opportunities for growth and cost savings. If you're just letting your accounts coast, without logging in, without checking your campaigns, well then you're not going to be able to put out any fires that arise. You're not going to be looking for new keywords that could be relevant to your business, etc. And so that's why I'm tracking the activity in the last 30 and 90 days. It's a key area to look for activity in terms of like keywords and ad groups and campaigns and ad text. In fact, this particular metric, even though it's not necessarily the most popular PPC metric, people were saying conversions and all this other stuff is super important in the poll today. Well, it is only by kind of the thoughtful account activity of creating good ads and keywords and doing kind of diligently optimizing your account is how you're going to get to those conversion rates that you need. And so since this guy has done nothing at all, zero things in the last 30 days and only like one ad group in the last 90 days, this guy is like the laziest PPC advertiser of the group here in terms of like a percentile rating. So that's kind of explains sort of why the click-through rates are tanking. He's not picking great ads and great keywords and just kind of letting the whole account slide and be on autopilot. Let's take a look at long-tail keyword optimization. So this is long-tail keywords, of course, are the more specific phrases, usually containing 2 or 3 or more words, like Boston motorcycle insurance or something like that. 3-word terms or 2-word terms that are very specific, as opposed to kind of the more general, high-volume keywords like insurance or something like that, which is very difficult and very competitive to do well on because they're just so broad and unspecific. And so basically, what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to get a sense for in your account, what percentage of the impressions in your account are being accrued to kind of 1-word keywords like insurance versus 3-word terms, long-tail terms like Boston motorcycle insurance, which are much more relevant and more specific. And so in this particular account, you can see the lion's share, almost 83% of the account is being impressed to 1- and 2-word keywords. And so that's actually kind of the lowest 12% in terms of the ranking of this account, like the lowest 12 out of 100 that we see in terms of their targeting of relevant keywords. And I'm sure that's contributing to the awful click-through rates. It's like a combination of being lazy and then picking the wrong keywords. They're going after like really very broad and unspecific keywords. Let's just take a look at the guy's ads in this account. We look for 2 things in terms of the ad text optimization. One is the number of ads in your account, and keep in mind, because our benchmarks are set up based on the size of your account and your industry, that these benchmarks will be relevant to your business. So this guy, he's only got like maybe 3 ads in total in his entire account, relative to other people spending so he's spending about $100,000 on marketing in AdWords per year. Typically, other people might have hundreds of ads, and so that's quite a disparity. It means he's not doing a good job at coming up with clever things to say for different types of keywords. The other thing we look at is the number of ads per ad group to see if you're doing a good job of testing, and it appears that he does have a decent number of ads within the 3 ad groups that he has. And so we can also highlight your best and worst ads. Look at how the best ads are doing at 1.9%, and the worst ad is doing it at 0.2%. And so the idea here is just like trying to motivate you to try to get a few more of these best ads, which are doing 10 times better than the worst ad here. And it's really simple. You just have to delete the old ones and try something new. And the challenge is he's not really being that active. He's doing nothing. So I think it's a combination of lousy ads and poor keyword selection and low activity that is causing the low click-through rate. And actually, when people get to the site, they land on a landing page here, and this guy only has, it appears to be like 1 or 2 landing pages, so that means he's probably sending most of the traffic to the home page, whereas other people, they might have hundreds of different offers, depending on what keyword you searched on, trying to send them to more relevant offers. And finally, we talk a little bit about best practices in terms of like, are you doing conversion tracking? Are you doing geo-targeting? Are you using all the different match types, ad extensions? These are just kind of just thumbs up and thumbs down things to check to make sure that you're taking advantage of all the different different types of bells and whistles that AdWords offers you to improve your performance. So I think overall, I think this is a pretty fair grade in terms of a 4% grade because they're not using stuff like conversion tracking, and they're not using stuff like network targeting, like separating campaigns by search versus display, and they're not really that active, and they haven't really done a great job of on their landing pages or ad text or basically anything at all. And I think this is unfortunate, but it's also very typical. Just in order to just give you a sense of how things could be, I wanted to briefly go over an example of the opposite of that last account. And this is kind of like what I would call an overachiever, kind of a high-performing AdWords account. This guy got a 98% score out of based on the benchmarks, and so he's doing a ton of work on negative keyword research. He's like, last month he added 100 negative keywords, and over the last quarter he added 200. So that means you're keeping, it's like you're weeding your garden and you're keeping the waste down. Here's the quality score. Now this is pretty remarkable. So look at how all of the keywords in this guy's account are either quality score 7 or quality score 10. Isn't that amazing? So what's going on is like he's just, and look at his impression weighted average quality score is 8.8 out of 10. So he's really doing a good job at driving really high click-through rates for his keywords and his ads in the account, and Google's rewarding him with really high quality scores, which is allowing him to get really good cost per clicks and good ad positioning. So I think that's fantastic. Look how this advertiser's impression share is the exact opposite of the previous guy. So in this case, he's acquiring 89% impression share, meaning it's almost 9 out of 10 searches are being captured to this advertiser, and that's of course because he has such a high relevancy. Like 8.8 out of 10 is his average quality score, and so therefore, whenever Google has an opportunity to show one of this guy's ads, they're going to jump and try to show the ad because these are amazing ads. The other guy, remember, was 3 out of 10, like 29% impression share captured. So that's like just the opposite. And by the way, you never really get to 100% impression share. It kind of tops out around 90%. So this is pretty high. Google doesn't show ads for every search, so that's why you never get to 100% here. Let's look at the click-through rate. Wow, so this is out of 100 people, this is the top 2 kind of click-through rates in terms of what we've seen, like out of a typical batch of 100 people. Look at how his average click-through rate is 14%, and remember how I was graphing that curve of kind of expected click-through rate and how the keywords you want to be above the expected click-through rate. Look at how his keywords all are like almost all of them are above the expected average click-through rate, and they're doing click-through rates of 20, 40, 60, or even 70% click-through rates. And this has to do with the strength of his keyword targeting and the strength of his ads, and this definitely is showing why he's getting a quality score of 8.8 out of 10. So well-deserved, and he's working for it. He didn't get it for free. He's created in the last couple of months, he's created 2 new campaigns. He's done like 21 new ads, 346 tried out different keywords, 10 different ad groups. Like, none of this comes for free. It doesn't, like, unless you're willing to work for it and put some energy and time into it, it's not going to happen automatically. And so so he's working for it, and things seem to be working. Look at how this advertiser, he's also doing a great job of long-tail keyword optimization. Again, this is the opposite of the previous advertiser who was in trouble. This guy has got 82% of his keywords are being impressed to long-tail keywords, and just kind of 17 plus 1% going to the 1 and 2 word keywords. And so by incorporating these long-tail keyword terms into the campaigns, he's able to write more specific ads and be more targeted and get those 14% click-through rates on average. Look at his ad texts. Like he's still got a couple lousy ads doing like 0.8%, but some of them are averaging 29% click-through rates. So he's clearly done a lot of ad testing in terms of having more ads in his campaigns than the average, and I think that's fantastic. Also, he's doing a good job of creating different offers for different types of ad groups. So he's got 25 landing pages versus the competition who's only got 15. So that's a pretty high score, 93. And when it comes to best practices, he's taking advantage of all the different bells and whistles in terms of like ad extensions and match types and all the different segmentation options that Google has to offer. He's leveraging them, and each one of those gives him an opportunity to do better. And so I think, in summary, you can see how this account is the exact opposite of the kind of struggling account, in terms of like the performance of the account. And hopefully, by having reviewed these 2 accounts with you today, you can kind of get a sense for why I believe that those metrics that I highlighted earlier are so important. It's because they give me a great deal of insight into whether or not the account is being successful or not, and also kind of they're actionable in that they kind of give me an idea of what needs to like what's the low-hanging fruit in terms of the work that needs to be done to get this account on a path to success. So, by the way, you can grade your own account at wordstream.com and just grade your AdWords account. And let me just flip back to the PowerPoint presentation here. And so as much as I wish to see that everyone was doing amazing in their accounts, unfortunately I have seen that a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, their accounts look a little bit more like the first account that we looked at, and the reason is because there's a lot of challenges when you're a small and medium-sized business. Like, you've got other things to do than spend hours a week in your PPC account, and it's complicated, and you have to learn all these different technologies and best practices, and so what tends to happen is I've looked at thousands of these accounts over the last couple of years, and it's clear to me that like typically accounts, like, they don't have their conversion tracking on, they're not using negative keywords, they're not logging in, not even once every 3 months. It kind of means that a lot of these advertisers, they don't necessarily know where they're going, don't know how to get there, many don't even seem to care, and those were just like some of the findings. And so I think that there's a bit of a kind of a vicious cycle here. Maybe the advertisers, they start out with kind of mediocre campaigns, those get kind of penalized with low ad positions and high cost per clicks due to the poor relevancy, and that kind of just propagates even lousier performance because of the low quality scores then generate even lower positions and higher cost per clicks. And so this kind of vicious cycle typically results, like in this image, a train wreck, complacency, and failure. And so in my presentation today, now that we talked a little bit about diagnosing some of those problems using reporting and metrics, let's talk a little bit about what could be done about like turning this around, like how do we turn things around. And basically, as I was mentioning earlier, we have that Grader product on our site. It's a free product, and over the last couple of years, I've had a chance to look over thousands of these AdWords accounts as I was just reviewing with you today, and I feel like I have a really good idea of why some advertisers just have so much success in their paid search, whereas others fail so miserably. And so in my presentation today, I've kind of summarized all of the data that I've kind of collected over the years and just trying to boil it up into 5 things that I know to be true about AdWords success, and I'm going to just share them with you right now. One, in my survey of advertisers and studying of kind of advertiser account data, I asked people kind of what kind of tools do you use in your PPC work, and what I found was that the most successful PPC advertisers that I talked to leveraged tools, either third-party commercial tools or internally developed tools, but regardless, these were in addition to the basic tools that were offered through the AdWords platform. And of course, this was to automate kind of repetitive tasks as well as gain a competitive advantage. 2, like anything else in life, you get out of AdWords what you put into it. And so this has to do with that account activity metrics that we were talking about earlier, like the number of logins, the number of new keywords, the new number of ads, how much work is actually being done in there, if anything at all. And we found, or I found, that there was a huge correlation between sort of the activity and AdWords success. Advertisers and agencies who are more actively managing their accounts were doing, on average, far better than those who had just placed their campaigns on autopilot. And so that was a really important finding, although it may seem kind of obvious in retrospect. Next has to do with, 3, so not surprisingly, I found a huge correlation between quality score and AdWords success. So that's why I put quality score as one of the metrics that matters. It's because if you just show me the quality score, like I can tell you like really good idea of whether or not the advertiser is happy or not with kind of their ROI, and basically in order to get this kind of oh shoot, this is the negative keyword one. Yeah, here it is. Basically, it has to do with improving the click-through rates, by picking the really granular, remember those long-tail keywords that we were talking about in the reports there? So it means finding the good keywords and combining them with awesome ads that are super targeted and go to awesome landing pages. And in fact, in terms of the power of this quality score metric, it's the second strongest predictor of AdWords account success, second only to the account activity metric that I was just talking about earlier. So 3 here, you gotta keep the PPC house clean. The bad keywords in your account, they have a leading role in terms of the account destruction. They drain your budget. They lower your account quality score. They make it really difficult to achieve any success in your AdWords accounts. And so it's really important that you kind of actively kill off poorly performing keywords, or use negative keywords and more restrictive match types to kind of refine targeting. And so that's super important. And lastly, has to do with just setting goals and setting the proper expectation that nothing happens for free and nothing happens right away. Everything takes time, and therefore coming up with a plan consisting of realistic, achievable goals is super important. And a goal could be simply like dedicating a certain amount of time each week just to look over your AdWords account and make like one change or something like that. And so basically, in the interviews that I conducted with different successful advertisers, people with scores of 95 and above, we found that advertisers who had set a more realistic expectation and a plan of action on what to do about their results fared much better than those who didn't. And so So now that we've kind of summarized these 5 things that I know to be true of AdWords success, I just wanted to briefly introduce the WordStream's 20-minute PPC workweek, which takes everything that we talked about in terms of the metrics that are important and what we know to be true about achieving success in paid search. We're taking all this information and turning it into a workflow, which is kind of like an actionable plan, like a plan of action here. And so here it is. Basically, it's just 6 things to do, in terms of your weekly workflow. It starts with, performing a quick check on your keyword bids and campaign budgets. It's pretty obvious, raising the bids on stuff that seems to be working, lowering the bids on kind of the keywords that aren't working out and are just sucking away all the budget in your account and not producing anything. Obviously, without tools, this could take a little while, but with all the automation out there, it shouldn't take more than 2 minutes here. Step 2 has to do with pausing poorly performing keywords. It's not only a matter of adjusting keyword bids, but also at some point you have to say enough is enough and kind of move on. And if you happen to have keywords that aren't doing well or they're hopelessly competitive or in a just draining budget, you need to kill them and move on. Number 3 has to do with doing some keyword research. So that means like spending a little bit of time, a few minutes each week, looking for promising keywords to add, as well as negative keywords to set. This will ensure that you're always trying out something new. It's not like I definitely don't think a buy and hold strategy for PPC, like kind of just leaving it on autopilot, that never works, because there's all sorts of junk that piles up in your account, and also all sorts of opportunities that you probably haven't thought of on the first day in terms of different keywords. The next step here, step 4, has to do with ad text optimization. Now here I just want you to just do one thing. I just want you to throw out the worst ad in your account and try replacing it with a new one. I don't know if the new ad will be better than the ad that you replaced, but by always kind of focusing on kind of the underperforming ad, and you're kind of reducing the risk of doing ad testing. It's kind of like Jack Welch from GE has this policy of firing the bottom 10% of his workforce every year, and even though that may seem inhumane or really horrible, it can be a very effective way of doing ad testing, like just kind of culling the bottom 10% of your ads or bottom ad from your account, and then trying to replace it every week, and just give that a try, because in so many accounts there's like nothing happening whatsoever. Finally, in step 5, it has to do with improving the account relevancy. Remember, this was the number 2 most impactful thing you can do to improve the quality of your account. So this means like maybe just break up one large ad group into 2 smaller, more targeted ones, or try to come up with a different landing page or a different, some way of being more relevant to the searcher's intent. And finally, we have just 2 minutes here on reporting, and so this is really simple. All I need you to do here is just whip together a report, send it to your boss or your client, and let them know how things are going. And you can send that out to other stakeholders as well. If you're an agency, you'd send it to your clients. Basically, it reminds other people out there in terms of the work you're doing that it's you're making yourself more accountable for the work that you're doing by like kind of sending out this weekly report or monthly report. And keep in mind that when you send out these reports, it's not necessary for the numbers to improve every single month. That's not realistic. There's going to be ups and downs. But what is important is kind of setting the expectation with your client or your boss that you are on a path to success, which is a long-term process in terms of like, you're working on this, and over time things will improve. And so that's kind of when you pull it all together. It's this 20-minute PPC workweek. I made it into an infographic. You can download it from our WordStream blog and print it out. But I think like this kind of kind of crystallizes a lot of like the discussion that we've been having around metrics and what to do about it and how to turn that into an actionable workflow. By the way, WordStream, now that we've kind of outlined some of the different tasks in this kind of workflow, I want to just show you how WordStream has a product. It's like this 20-minute PPC work week. Yes, it was kind of inspired by 20-minute abs, but basically it's all of these really powerful tools that will allow you to get through the work week in just 20 minutes a week, which I think is totally reasonable amount of time to spend on your account. If you're spending, anywhere upwards of a couple hundred to a couple $1,000s a month, I think that would be worth your time. It's this thing here. Here it is, the 20-minute PPC work week, and basically here's how it works. Starting with negative keywords. I think that was like the number 3 most biggest time suck according to our users in the poll today. And so what the product will do is it'll find the junk keywords in your account to negate and give you ideas on which ones to turn off or to add as negative for you. I think that's pretty profound. Bidding here, you just click on that Act button, and WordStream will every week it does like 1,000 hours of man hours of analysis on your account and gives you sort of the bid changes that you need to do in order to maintain your competitiveness in terms of the goals that you're setting. So, that could be something that would normally take a while, but is super easy using automation. Same with adding keywords. WordStream can look at kind of your ads and your landing pages and the keywords in your count and the performance of keywords, like how are they doing, and can suggest what kind of keywords are the most promising opportunities to add to your account, and you can do that very easily. Here's the worst performing ad in your account, and it's suggesting to fix it. And finally, there's some suggestions on certain keywords that you might want to just shut off and try to shift that budget to other, so that you may try other types of keywords out there rather than keep throwing money after the these failed keywords. I also wanted to talk about reporting. So reporting, if you remember, was the 6th step in the 20-minute work week. And I was saying that it's super important because you need to generate these reports that keep you accountable. It's kind of like just, I don't know, like if you're on a diet, you can you tell your wife or your friends that you're dieting so that they can kind of give you heck if you're not living up to what you said you were doing. So the reporting, there's an element of it definitely will give you kind of insight into what's happening in your account, but there's also an element of accountability. And so by generating these monthly reports and sending them out to your stakeholders every month, it really will help with kind of workflow compliance in terms of like motivation and just getting things done. It also it's really helpful, especially if you're an agency. Like clients want to know that you're doing work on their behalf. Now the good news here is that you don't have to tell them that WordStream did all the work here. WordStream generates like a monthly report for you, like a bank statement, kind of showing you all the information, all the valuable metrics that we were just talking about, like conversion rates and all this stuff. It's all here in this PPC success report, and it kind of shows the change from month to month. Again, it's not necessary that it always goes up, consecutively month to month, but the important thing is that it's kind of on a path to success. Again, here's an example of what the report looks like for the quality score section. A lot of these sections are actually, most of these sections are very similar to what you were seeing earlier in the grader report, except that we've kind of removed a lot of the all the calls to action about like try to improve your score today, and we've kind of made it a little less we're not judging you. Like we don't put the percentile scores here. It's all meant to be kind of more positive, more glass half full kind of thing. And so we go through all of the different metrics and kind of trend that over time, like click-through rate and average cost per click, and all the other important metrics that were on the sheet earlier that we in the poll, in terms of like click-through rates and conversion rates and cost per conversion, etc. They're all there. There's a couple more sections. I'm not going to go through them all, but it would tell you like your top performing keywords, your top performing ads. So this is just like one ad, or sorry, one report that you could just generate in WordStream very quickly and easily in order to fulfill sort of the reporting component of the 20-minute PPC workweek, which is I think a very important step, even though you're not actually making changes in the account, but it has a very kind of strategic high-level value in terms of motivating and just communicating the progress and what's happening in the account. Okay, so that's kind of pretty much all I had to talk about. Oh, just a couple slides here on will it really work for me? Is 20 minutes really enough time? Well, certainly not if you're not leveraging automation. Like, I mean, a lot of these tasks like bid management and keyword expansion, I wouldn't be, and especially reporting. Like, remember, people, like, I think it was like 60 or 70% of people said reporting is a big time suck. Certainly, it would take more than 20 minutes a week to do, basic PPC management and reporting stuff. But if you're using automation and tools, I certainly think you could be more productive. If you have more than 20 minutes of time per week that you want to spend on AdWords, well then go on ahead. This was a minimum and not a maximum, and so the key thing though is to not overdo it, because sometimes I think people manage their AdWords like a fad diet where you you kind of binge and do a lot of stuff all at once, and then you never revisit it for like a year or 6 months. The reality is that small changes over a regular kind of intervals often work much better than trying to change everything in your account at once in order to kind of get a sense for cause and effect and to gather data to make better informed decisions. And so, unless you're spending millions of dollars per day in a campaign, I think it's slow and steady kind of wins the race. And in terms of, what if it takes more than 20 minutes? Of course, leverage automation. So, in summary here, we looked at the state of AdWords accounts. We showed kind of a typical advertiser who was struggling for the various reasons, and we're able to illustrate that very visually. We saw that a lot of the AdWords accounts out there were kind of in not great shape, and then we looked over 5 habits of successful PPC marketers, and one of the key takeaways of that exercise was this idea of thinking of your campaign work as being this weekly recurring task that you should be working towards and striving towards, as opposed to like a binary kind of like now we're done type thing, that setting the expectation that it's kind of this ongoing activity and that you need to keep at it. And finally, we talked a little bit about the 20-minute PPC work week, which is a PPC workflow for optimizing as well as reporting on your AdWords accounts. So that's all I have today in terms of my presentation. Here's kind of a summary of WordStream's 20-minute PPC workweek, and it's the main feature of PPC Advisor, which is our PPC management platform. At this time, I'd like to take your questions. I believe we have one poll question for the audience here. So based on kind of our discussion today on metrics and reporting and the 20-minute PPC workweek, I'd like to offer you one of 3 possible offers. The first has to do with a kind of a certified AdWords professional here at WordStream. Would you like one of our reps to do kind of a detailed account audit, such as what we did with the greater reports that we looked at today, the great one and the not so great one? Would you like someone experienced to go through your report with you for free to get a good understanding of kind of where the low-hanging fruit is in your account and what kind of things you should be focusing on. And personally, I think that that's a great offer because, first of all, it's free, and secondly, it's always useful. It's always useful, unless you're like super defensive. Like, it's always useful to get a kind of a second opinion in terms of what you're doing. I do it, even though I'm like, I've evaluated thousands of accounts. I always appreciate someone like looking over my work, because like even if I get one new thing, that's a new idea, that's always valuable, and I love that. The other offers we have for you today are a free trial of the WordStream PPC Advisor platform, which is the kind of the software that I showed you today. And also, there's a demo of WordStream. If you'd rather just have someone kind of walk you through it, there's a free demo offer as well. And so, if you could, I'd really appreciate if you could just check which offer you'd be interested in there on your screen. And Chris, this time, are you still there? Do we have any questions from our audience?
Yep, I'm here, Larry, and thank you for walking us through the webinar today. And thank you, everyone, for sending your questions. And I got a lot of questions here, so we'll try to answer as many as we can. I know Larry likes to do a follow-up blog post after our webinar, so we'll try to answer a lot of questions in that blog post as well. I'll leave this poll question up as well, because it looks like we don't have everyone's votes in yet, so I'll leave that up and give everyone a chance to answer. But our first question here is, how often should you do PPC reporting?
Great, great question. So it depends on the size of your account. If you're a small and medium-sized business spending like, anywhere from $100 to $10,000 a month, which I think is probably a lot of the people here, I think monthly is great because it's aligned with kind of like the tasks that go on in your department. You probably have like monthly goals, like in terms of lead generation goals for the month. And I think the whole industry is kind of built around kind of monthly reporting in terms of just like if you're using an agency, or typically it's nice to do monthly reporting because you get these kind of fluctuations from week to week. Maybe there's like a holiday or something like that. But if you kind of group together a month, then you get kind of some of the noise kind of cancels itself out, and you're able to see trends over a more significant period of time. Yeah. So even though reporting is in the 20-minute PPC work week, you don't have to necessarily do the reporting task every single week, but definitely once a month it's pretty important.
Great, thanks, Larry. The next question here is, what is the best way to find long-tail keywords? So if someone is struggling to find those, really relevant targeted keywords for their account, what is the best way to go about that?
Well, there's two ways. First is just using the keyword suggestion tools, and WordStream has a keyword suggestion tool, so there's some included in the platform if you were to use a free trial. We've got like a trillion keyword database in terms of like lots and lots of long and mid-tail keywords to choose from. There's other keyword tools like the Google keyword tool as well. Like those are all very important to try out. The second way is to just kind of look through your search query reports. You can pull up these reports to see how people have found you in the past in terms of like what were the exact search terms that people were searching on, and if you don't have those searches in your those key phrases in your account, you can then add them. And so WordStream has some technology for it was that add keywords tool that I was showing you earlier that will automatically find and identify sort of promising looking long tail keywords and suggest for that you add them. All right.
A high impression share with poor quality score as long as you add money to the PPC budget?
Can you repeat the beginning part of the question?
It was just, what role does budget play in high impression share? So if you if you have low quality scores but you keep adding money to your PPC account, will you be able to increase your impression shares on budget alone?
Well, certainly, is it possible? Yes. Is it recommended? Probably not. Just to give you some color on this, if your quality score falls so low, like in the 1, 2, 3 range, then Google doesn't even want to show your ads in the first place. So budget's not going to help. But if you're kind of in the middle range of like 3, 4, 5 quality scores, and you're able to throw money at the problem to open up your budgets and bids, then you will definitely improve your impression share.
Awesome. The next question here, it's another keyword question. What is the easiest and best way to evaluate the performance of any particular keyword?
Well, so much of what, so in the poll today, everyone was saying the most important metric is conversion rates and cost per conversion, and it's hard to disagree with that. So I would put those towards the top, though so much of AdWords is like AdWords is viewed as kind of a game, like a game wherein the goal is to, like, so much of the success or failure is based on the click-through rate of your keywords, meaning like if you have a high click-through rate, then Google will love to show that ad all the time and give it like a really, really high positioning and low cost per click. And if you have a low click-through rate, then it's the opposite. Your ads just don't show, and if they do, you're paying like crazy amounts for that ad to show. And so sometimes I view a kind of a close secondary goal in terms of the KPI for your keywords is just the click-through rate, because I feel like so much of the AdWords game is oriented around just getting a good click-through rate for the keywords that are in your account.
Great. The next question we have here, so it's an agency question. So it's a marketing agency asking, what's the best way to grade their AdWords account for potential clients without having access to their account? So just showing them that they're wasting a lot of money and how this marketing agency can step in and help.
Well, there are a couple ideas. It's really hard to do an analysis on something that you're not seeing. It can be frustrating. That's actually why we built this AdWords grader, because we wanted to make it really simple and easy for people to get a sense for how they're doing. There's some third-party tools like SpyFu or SEMrush where you can just kind of type in the URL of the potential client and get a report in terms of what keywords they're advertising on, what do the ads look like. You can get the URLs for their landing pages, and you can kind of do a cursory analysis of that. Although you're not going to have you're just going to have the kind of the public artifacts. So like what keywords are they bidding on and what ads are showing for those keywords. What you won't know is like the internal metrics like cost per click and cost per conversion. But if that's all you have, then that's better than nothing.
Okay, great. So I think we have enough time for one last question here. This is kind of a two-part question. The first part, should you change max cost per click based on average position?
Should you change max cost per click and bid based on average position? Well, yes, I think so. Because if you are in a lower position, you would need to, you're probably getting not a lot of clicks and not a lot of exposure, because who clicks on number 8 ad? It's pretty little. And so if it's important to your business, I would definitely be like increasing bids on keywords, provided that it made sense, that these are keywords that appear to be relevant to your business and are strategically important to your business, then absolutely I would be looking at average position as kind of one factor to determine whether or not to raise bids. Conversely, if you're already in the number 1 or the number 2 or number 3 spot, then maybe it's not as necessary to raise the bids, given that you're already kind of competitively ranking for those terms.
Great, thanks, Larry. The second part of that question was just, what is a realistic goal for raising your click-through rates and quality scores?
So the best way to do this is just to run your account in the AdWords grader, because it gives you a lot of information about your click-through rates in terms of, like, based on your average position and based on the click-through rate in that average position, what is the typical, so what's your, how do you rank, and what's the average typical click-through rate for your industry? So it's like really hard to answer for me to articulate over the phone here, but if you were to run that report, we could do that analysis based on the industry and size of your business and just show you the result. It's a pretty intense computation, it would show you not only the realistic expectations for click-through rate but also quality score, and we'll contextualize that based on what other advertisers in that industry and size tend to do on average. Now, it's a little bit like how using a software program like Zillow, you could get comparable prices for houses in your neighborhood, in your budget range, that kind of thing. So it's like what you need to do is look at kind of comparables, and the WordStream AdWords grader could provide you some of that information there. Thanks so much for joining us today. That's all we have today. Here's my contact information on the screen. If you have any questions, just Twitter me or email me, and I'll do my best to respond. In the meantime, please take us up on the offer of the free trial or the free grader report, because I think it's totally valuable. Thanks again, and that's all I have for us today. Have a good afternoon.